Jesus line if they live righteously.
It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall, and special episodes. It is the Hear Him. We are proud to announce that we have got the new editions. That is,
everything up till
2024.
now has just been preliminary. We've just been stalling for today. This is it.
Let's call it what it is. Reckless speculation is what it's been up to this point, but now we know. We have, in fact, seen it, although as of this recording, it's not necessarily in all the apps. And so some people are like, is this another one of those things? Are people saying that the church is saying something that they aren't saying? I know that it's at the church's website, but not everyone's app, depending on where you live and how it's been updated, is showing these hymns. But we have, in fact, been reaffirmed. We have the new hymns that are going to be added, that are added to.
On a technical perspective, something I've learned all on the Googles and on the internet and through my own stuff is that if you are trying to access the hymns directly from Gospel Library, you're not going to get them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the Sacred Music app, and then it'll actually have you leave if you go through the Gospel Library, it'll prompt you to download it, so it's not that hard. But it'll actually have you leave the Gospel Library as opposed to the normal hymns and actually go to the Sacred Music app. So if you're concerned that you don't have them or you haven't seen them, first of all, make sure your Gospel Library is up to date. It's the most recent version of it.
Sure.
And then make sure you have the Sacred Music app, which used to be called LDS Hymns. The Sacred Music app. If you're still called LDS Hymns or anything like that, you're not getting it. The other thing you'll notice when you go,
you've updated. If you're
Exactly. Update. It's time to update. Some people don't like it. Time to update. This is the time to do it. But the other thing you'll notice is when you go to Sacred Music hymns, the classic hymns, the 85 hymn book or whatever, the ones that's still just called hymns.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the tabernacle organ
it's like the
on
green
it and
cover.
everything else.
It's like the green screen cover, right?
So it looks just like that. The new Hymns for Home and Church is first of all, that's what it's called, Hymns for Home and Church. It now has the Christus symbol on it.
Interesting.
So they've changed and updated that. So
okay. So that's how you'll get it. What we're going to do in this episode is just a brief overview of all of the additions. Now, you're thinking, oh, but there's so much more that you could go into in each of every one of these hymns that you're talking about. Why aren't you doing more? Oh, we will. Those are going to be separate episodes. These should be about 15, 20 minutes where we dive into each of the hymns, but we did want to, because it's hot news, because you may or may not have had the opportunity to look and see what these new hymns that have been added are. We're going to take just about a minute on each of these and be like, this is what it is. Maybe you have heard it. And then we'll move to the next one, but know that there will be individual episodes about each of these.
And, someone can call me out on the things that I predicted and pointed to the end zone on, and we'll see. We'll talk about those.
I looked over the list. I was going to save that till the end because they're,
okay.
According to Mr. Mayor, it's guaranteed, everyone. Oh, it's on the list. And I kept reading to the bottom and going, And I went back to the top and I went, there's not Amazing Grace on this. We'll get into it. Oh, we will get into it.
Okay. The first one.
Hold on,
100%.
I spent so much time memorizing Amazing Grace and working
you
on
already
it so
have
I
it
could do it
memorized. I mean, everyone knows that song.
I want to make sure I get the first note, because if you get the note too low or too high, you're doomed.
All I'll say is this is only the first batch, so it's not 100% that it won't be in. But the thing is, I did call out that it would be in this group, and so no matter what happens,
all the hymnal Nostradamus is saying is that, it's coming. Maybe I got the date on the calendar wrong, but the end of the world.
My narcissistic brain tells me that someone listened to this and said, oh, you think it's going to be on? We'll just save that for a future batch now. And it was going to be on the original.
Here's the thing. I thought about it because this would be the one to do it. I don't think they're going to do it. Because of the controversy, because of where we're at in America and the controversy surrounding the history of Amazing Grace, we aren't going to do it. We aren't going to touch it.
Wow, that'd be interesting. Let's see. Well, I still say it's going to be in. in the 500 that'll eventually come out sometime
Hmm.
in the next year or so.
Hmm.
But you're saying it's not. So I
Yeah,
guess one of these times when after this all out, whoever wins takes the other one to lunch.
deal. And you know what? Not lunch, dinner. Dinner's more expensive. Come on.
Dinner.
All
There
right.
we go. Okay.
So the first one that has been added, again, we're going to do a quick overview of all of these. Let's do it.
Come thou fount of every blessing. Number one, no surprise there. I think everyone knew it was coming. Well, we also knew because they told us.
Hmm.
So we knew absolutely that one. We talked about that on a previous episode, so I don't want to spend any time more on that other than everyone's been asking for this for years, so this is a no-brainer. It's right out of the gate. Number two is when the Savior comes again. It's a newly composed. This is a new
Hmm.
composition by Lane Johnson, who teaches choral composition at BYU. So this came out of the BYU world. It's a beautiful melody. It's a children's song
Okay.
so it's definitely falls into that hymns of home and church that is designed for primary or kid primary age.
Okay.
Um,
So I did have a question about that. To your understanding, it's all just going to be one like hymns for home and
yeah,
church, right? But do you think that we'll be singing something like this, like as a congregation, like here we go, let's do it? Or is it just now part of a hymnal? And maybe we will, or maybe those like fringy choristers will be like, yeah, we're gonna sing a child's hymn and we'll do it together.
I think for the most part, I think you're gonna see some direction inside there. This is my guess that hey, there's certain like just like we do now, like hey, here's some sacrament hymns,
Hmm.
topics, and things that you would use for different scenarios like funerals and things like that. So you'll see some of those that direction in there.
Hmm.
But truthfully, I think all of the hymns will be up for grabs in congregations. But I think what you'll find is for the most part classic style hymns will still be sung in congregations, with a few exceptions.
Sure.
And then for songs that are dedicated towards children and primary or whatever, they'll be typically sung in primary. But again, I think there'll be a little bit more bleed over than there used to be because there used to be two separate books. Now they're the
Sure.
same. So you're going to see more of that, but it's going to be all in one place now.
Well, congrats to Brother Johnson. I wonder if he's getting high fives all around BYU right now. Like, hey,
I hope so.
big man, got gear. Yeah. Woo. High five.
Now, I've listened to all these multiple times, but some of these still haven't stuck with me yet because they're just so new. But this next one is one of my favorite hymns of all time. And I was always hoping this one would make it into the list. And it is called "It Is Well With My Soul"
Hmm.
by and if you've ever seen the Tabernacle Choir's production with Hugh Bonneville, I think I mentioned this on a previous episode.
Hmm.
Definitely make sure you bring tissues with you. It's a
Really?
crier. There's a lot about it. And this hymn is one of the most touching hymns. And the story behind Horatio Spafford, who wrote the lyrics for the hymn, his writing of it
Hmm.
is amazing, and it's quite inspirational story, and it definitely will make you cry. So if you want to cry, definitely go to YouTube and search Tabernacle Choir Christmas Hugh Bonneville. It is well with my soul. You will have a good cry, and we'll talk about it on a future episode.
Yeah, when we just break down
Um,
that particular episode. I Will Walk with Jesus is the next one. Another kid song?
yeah, another children's song, Stephen P. Shank. Obviously, this is another LDS song that was written by an LDS person uh, who submitted this to that. So this has been around for a while. So I Will Walk with Jesus, you might have heard in a children's primary presentation or something like that in the last few years. So it's now in the hymn book.
Hmm. Hmm.
The next one, his eye is on the sparrow.
Yeah.
This is we mentioned this in a previous episode, especially following General Conference as the hey, what is going to be in speculation episode that we had. This definitely made it. We were not surprised that this one made it. This is if you want to hear some really good renditions of it, Whitney Houston has some good. Just there's
Hmm.
tons of gospel versions of it. I found some really nice, just classic folk with single guitar folk versions of this song. You can find a lot of those out there. It's a classic Christian hymn. It's a beautiful hymn, specifically talking about how the Lord is actively looking and paying attention to our lives. So
We'll get into it, but for my money, Lauryn Hill in Sister Act 2 is the His Eyes on
oh, no
Hero
doubt.
version
No,
way to go.
no doubt. No
We
doubt. That is
we
probably the most popular one on YouTube. It's the one you see come up if you just
we
type it
listened
in.
to that last night. My wife was like, "What are you recording in the morning?" And I said, "Oh, the new hymns are out." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, new hymns?" And I said, "Yeah, you bet." I said, "Here's one of them." And she's like, "In your church?"
Yeah, well, it depends on the style and the
Yes.
arrangement, but yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
But I
Yeah,
love
you're
that it
not going to
opens.
see the Lauryn Hill version sung exactly that way in the
Oh,
sacrament
I
meeting,
hope
but
so. I hope so. But no, by a congregation, certainly not. Too hard to
you're
do.
going to have people who want to sing that music chairmans all over the world going, oh, freaking out when they
Yeah.
get up to sing the gospel version of it.
Yep.
Um, uh, think a sacred song. This, in my opinion, is one of
Hmm.
the standout of the children hymns. And it's just me, it's subjective.
Hmm.
A playful and reverent children's hymn by a lady named Marlene Summers. It was written about 2013, it looks like, at least based on what I was able to find. And this kind of falls in that category of, when you're, what's that old, there's an old children's hymn about singing a hymn in your head. I can't remember.
When you're thinking dirty thoughts, think a
That's right.
sacred hymn. If you
Not
want to hit
exactly
your
like that, but
brother,
this is
think
more
a
about a
sacred
comforting thing. This
hymn.
is more about reminding yourself about Jesus Christ's atonement and what he can do for by thinking a sacred hymn. And it's reminding us that sacred music can be really helpful for us. So this is kind of a good theme song for the next little while with all these hymns coming up, because that's what we're talking about, sacred song. And I particularly liked this one. It's got a very simple message. It's
Mhm,
a definitely a children's hymn or
mhm,
children's song,
mhm.
and I just loved it.
If
The
you
next two,
want to punch your brother, think a sacred hymn.
yep, that's exactly what it is, and
Clean
that's
your
the melody
room.
too. Marlene Summers Merkling, that's Marlene Summers Merkling is really happy you're doing
Yeah, yeah. It,
that.
if you
Number
want to
7 and 8.
turn off your podcast host, think a sacred hymn.
There you go.
BestDJinUtah.com is the website. That is where you go if you would like me to come and DJ your event. Now, will I do a family reunion where you all wear the same t-shirts? You bet I will. Will I travel to wherever you're at? Uh-huh. Am I reasonable as far as what I cost? Yes. Yes. Do I bring a good time? Yeah, all the things. Listen, Best DJ in Utah, it's my company. It's a thing I do that allows me to be able to have the time to do the cultural hall. So if someone's getting married, you think, man, they need a great DJ. You're throwing a party, whether it's a 50th or 60th or 40th or 20th or whatever the party is. I've done them all and would love to be able to do that. An anniversary party, certainly done those. I did a baptism in 2023. Yeah, we did a big dance party at a baptism. Spoiler, not a Mormon baptism, but it was fun nonetheless. BestDJinUtah.com is a website. I will get back to you within 24 hours with a quote. Come on now. BestDJinUtah.com.
Imagine running a small business today. It's challenging. Imaging and internet presence is an absolute must. Even with that, you're still a small star in a bright cyber universe. Now, imagine you have someone who understands how to get your site designed for your talents and then easily searched by potential clients. Imagine Lennon Design. Whether it's strictly a website or a whole package of logo creation, advertising media, and promotional materials, Lennon Design is your partner in business. They'll test the boundaries of their imagination to create something unique for you. When you need creative, affordable design, let it be Lennon Design. Call 801-699-3022 or visit lennondesign.com.
Number 7 and 8 are also they're both I like them. They're very similar in concept, and so I'm going to kind of talk about them together. 7 is called "A Bread Is Broken." It was introduced in 2018 by Stephen A. Reynolds, and the number 8 is "A Bread of Life, Living Waters" by Annette W. Dickman. Now, if you want to hear a little bit more about the stories behind these two, these were both written. Well, the 2013 was written and submitted for this, obviously for this batch of hymns,
Mm-hmm.
but and I'm sorry, 2018. I said 13. My eyes just having a hard time. 2018. He wrote this in 2018, so not long ago. So I think that's after they asked for submissions. So this is post announcement and he submitted this. And he said that, he was sitting in sacrament meeting and this idea came to him. And Annette Dickman composed Bread of Life, Living Waters in 2011. I want to highlight these because both of these are really nice and beautiful new sacraments hymns that you'll probably sing at sacrament. Also likely something at Easter or something like that. Very reverential hymns, quite beautiful, and I wanted to call those out.
I think they're
Number
amazing.
9 is
Hold on.
go
I'm
ahead. Go.
99% sure I went to high school with Stephen Reynolds. I'm trying to
You
find a
should
picture of
find
him.
out and get him on the hall.
Done. All right, we can
Done.
move on.
Done.
I just
Okay.
wanted to share that that's where I'm sort of distracted and not providing input. Trying to find there is, and what I appreciate about what you have done, and as we experience this with each of the episodes that we're going to be sharing about these individual hymns, you have got and gathered a lot about these hymns that isn't readily available on the internet. So I appreciate that you have
I
done.
spent a lot of time the last 2 days going,
Yeah,
just
this is
working
incredible.
working on that.
Okay, number 9.
Gethsemane. Gethsemane. This is probably the most viral, at least in the LDS culture,
Mm-hmm.
the most viral of all of these hymns. Now, the Come Thou Fount is everywhere. There's some
Mm-hmm.
others that are everywhere. But within the LDS culture, in 2007, Melanie F. Hoffman wrote this song called Gethsemane, and it really blew up a few years later when Claire Ryan Crosby, a 3-year-old, and we'll link to the YouTube, I'm sure you've seen this.
Yeah.
She sang this on her channel. The family's channel is called the Crosbys. That's the Crosbys channel, and they have lots of fun music. Hopefully you blow up their YouTube channel, and if they're getting monetary, that we help them out that way because there is a lot of fun music and songs and other things on the Crosby's channel.
Mm-hmm.
But this specifically, Gethsemane, really has blown up over the internet. In fact, the original video itself still has 19 million views.
Yeah, geez.
And that's just the original, because if you Google this, like just Gethsemane, Claire Ryan Crosby, you will find countless reproductions and lyric videos and people taking it apart and singing with it and duetting it and doing all kinds of fun things. So it is not just the 19 million views. It is probably well beyond that. But I wanted to call out the author, Melanie F. Hoffman. She wrote this in 2007. She is part of a songwriting couple. Her and her husband, Roger, have spent 35 years writing sacred music, and you will know some of them. In fact, one of the notable works by her husband, but I think they work on these together, is called Consider the Lilies. Have you ever heard that
Is that
song?
the Consider the
Yep, the
lilies
lilies of the field. That's
how
exactly
they
right.
grow?
That's a beautiful song, often sung at Easter time.
Or funerals.
The Tabernacle Choir version. I always do that. The Tabernacle Choir version is one of the most beautiful versions of it, but there are lots of amazing versions out there. So this kind of the same writing duo. Again, I think she wrote this, but I think they work on these together. But if you want to go to their website, you can find out more about them.
Find the
Very
link in the show notes.
strong.
This,
Yeah,
this
find a
song,
link.
this song for all of them, even though like I really love, we mentioned that version of His Eyes on the Sparrow and all that. For my money, this is the earworm song.
Yeah,
Gethsemane,
yeah,
Gethsemane.
yeah.
Jesus loves me. This
I'm
is like,
pretty sure we've heard versions of it between General Conference. I've heard this on and off for years. It's stuck in my head. Whenever it comes up, I can't get it out. So
yeah, nieces and nephews, this is their favorite song. Primary kids really, really like this song. It's great.
I think it was also sung in primary in our primary presentation one year. If I could be mistaken on that, but it's such an earworm. I could be just making up places where I heard it, but yeah.
I heard it at the grocery store the other day. I was
Yeah,
shocked.
yeah.
Okay,
So,
number 10.
number 10 is a traditional hymn by Charles Wesley. So adding to that tradition of bringing those traditional Christian hymns in. Hail the Day that Sees Him Rise, a great Easter hymn. We'll spend time on it another time, but it's got a great Alleluia chorus in it. So in those hymns that have Alleluia throughout, this is going to add to that mix, and those are always fun to sing. He is born the divine Christ child. Now this will be one I already started working on because this falls into the category of international hymns. So this
Okay.
is an
Okay.
international hymn, very popular in France. Obviously, it's a French carol, sung quite often there. Now it's now into our hymn book and translated into English. This is not the first time this has been translated in English. I've
Sure.
sang this in choir for years. There's been different versions of it. I sang a version in choir in high school and
Yep.
other choirs.
Same here.
Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of us have. You know the tune da 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 da
Well,
da
I
da
hope
da.
we sing it in French. Il est né le divin enfant. Yeah, I
That's
love
right.
it. Yeah.
That's what my wife sang last night because she sang it in choir in French. Um, a big, I think when it comes, so now we're into the Christmas song section, by
Mhm.
the way. So starting there, and we
Good. I'm
had
glad we get some
three.
more. Geez, more than 12 or 13 or whatever we had. Give us
Uh,
some more.
Give us more Christmas songs. That's exactly right. You know me, I'm a huge Christmas song guy, so this I could spend all my time just on these, but there's been a huge glaring omission in our hymn book, in our 85 hymn book, that a lot of people have complained about for years, and so we're correcting that omission. And what child is this
Mm.
is now going to be in there, sung to the melody of Greensleeves, written by William Chatterton Dix. It's a wonderful, melancholy sounding, but beautiful hymn that we know and love, and now it's in the hymn book. Um, and then the last one is specifically a Book of Mormon Christmas song. It's called
Interesting.
Starbright,
Hmm.
and I somehow spelled it incorrectly on the thing. So, Richie, I will correct it before you post the show notes.
Perfect.
But Starbright is composed by Lauren F. Wilwright in 1959, and this children's song comes from the perspective of the Book of Mormon. So this
Hmm.
is specifically a Book of Mormon hymn. Now, Lauren F. Wilwright, and I won't go into too much, he has written a bunch of hymns in our hymn book. So if you want to pull up your hymn book, we'll talk about these more in a later date. But one notable one is in the current primary children's songbook, Mother, I Love You. Mother, I love you.
What
Mother, I
do I do?
same author. So
Okay.
again, we'll talk deeper about all those, but that's the 13 hymns. Something to note in your sacred music, you'll notice a new numbering system.
Hmm.
Instead of three-digit number, they're now a four-digit number. And the Christmas hymns will all be starting with 1 2 0 0, 1 2 0 0 1, 1 2 0 0 2, whatever. Those will be the Christmas hymns. I don't know what the rest of the numbering system currently looks like, if there's any themes to it. I'm sure there is.
Hmm.
It's kind of hard to tell, but there's a four-digit numbering system. So, one like Starbright is 1204. Let's see, Gethsemane is 1009. So things like that. So that's the new numbering system, which I start thinking of, like, how many of those, where they put the hymns up in front of I wonder how many times it's gonna extend too far beyond
Oh, you're right.
the yeah, because the cards, you might either have to
Only
buy
they
smaller
only
cards or
yes.
have to expand, buy new hymn card
Him
holders.
card holder things. Those got to have a name. Him card
Yeah,
holders is not what it
hymn
is.
card holder thing. That's what the official name is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there it is. Those are the new hymns. We will break each of those down, except for "Come Thou Fount of Every
Which
Blessing,"
we
that
already
we've already
did.
done. So if you missed that, you can go back in the archives and be able to get that. Be sure that you subscribe to the Cultural Hall so that you get it. Amazing Grace, huh? Let's see. Let me look back over that again.
I don't
Amazing
see it
Grace
on there.
was a guarantee in this edition. Oh no, no, no,
I
not
still
there.
say it's going to be in the group.
Yeah,
It's just not going to be in this group.
but
But I'm
wrong
not going to
so
try to
far.
put.
Wrong
I'm
so
not going to
far.
try to guess in the future when it's going to come out. I think
Very incorrect up to this point. Wrong, actually.
I think
Someone
I
would
got.
say.
I think I got a few others right though.
I
I think
think
we called out a few others right.
wrong, incorrect, not 100%er. A C student. Got it. Okay. Well,
Yeah. Well,
find and
that's
follow us.
normal. Talk to my mom.
Yeah. The Cultural Hall. Be sure that you find and follow us on Instagram. Be find and follow us on X and on the Facebook as well. Subscribe if you have not yet subscribed, because you will get these sporadic, probably more frequent in the next couple of weeks, because I think we're just going to do them. Let's just do all these hymn deep dives so that people can have it. And then we get more of these. Do we know when we get
No, they said a few months. So every
Okay.
few months is what the current stance is. So we'll probably have a few weeks before we'll probably have a better understanding. Now, there's a few Twitter accounts you should kind of follow. Obviously, the Culture Hall
Mhm.
but the other Twitter account that's been really helpful for me as I've been looking is Hymn Watch. So if you're interested in kind of they always seem to break the news quickly, almost faster than I could. In fact, I learned about it that the new hymns had dropped, even though they were supposed to be yesterday. They actually dropped the night before, and I
Mhm.
heard about it from him. Actually, it wasn't from Hymn Watch. It was someone who follows Hymn Watch who
It
said,
was
"Hey, you
Eric
guys
Huntsman,
should."
previous guest of
Eric
the
Huntsman.
Cultural Hall, and he's a member of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square and listener of the Cultural Hall.
By the way, call out to Eric. We had a nice little back and forth conversation on Twitter. It was a lot of fun. I'd love to hear more from his point of view. So, Eric, reach out. Let us know.
Also, I will say there will be some that will be removed along the way, and we will draw attention to those. But as of this recording, we're not aware of any that have been subtracted.
I'm yet to do that, but I think we should have an episode, a speculation episode on which ones we think will be removed. So
Okay.
it'll be a future episode. But
Okay. All right.
contact at theculturalhall.com if there's anything that you think should be taken out. I heard a lot of people saying they don't think Praise to the Man should be in there. They feel like that's not a good. I
Interesting.
disagree with that, but I can understand where people are coming from. But I personally hate. I love the music too, but hate the droning long lyrics of "If You Could Hide a Kolob" and
Oh, come
the fact that
on.
I I think there is no end to that song.
Yeah, no, that's what I love about it. 6 verses. We always used to joke around about that at the end of that song. There is no
There's
end
no
to
end to
this
this
song.
song.
There is no end to singing. We
That's
will
right.
keep on singing this song. Are we singing
Uh,
still? Yes, we are.
so there's some like that. There's probably some Eliza R. Snows that some people love and some people hate.
How
So
dare you?
I'd love to hear people's point of view on which ones shouldn't be in
Yeah, I'll
moving
take that.
ahead. Yeah.
That's a
Contact
great
at
future episode.
theculturalhall.com.
I walked right over that. Contact at theculturalhall.com. Sorry about that, Mr. Mayor.
By the way,
Uh,
I know that there's a few people who've reached out. So please, if you wouldn't mind forwarding anything to me
How do
that
you
comes in
know
that
that there
way.
are people that have reached out? How do you know that?
They mentioned it on Facebook. That's how
Ah,
I know.
yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll
So
be better about that. Forwarding them over to you.
if you wouldn't mind forwarding them to me so then I can incorporate those comments into what we're doing. So that would be great.
Deal. We hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
And that if you're not listening this week, you'll listen next week.
And that if you and then when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. How long have you done this? How long? How long? And you still don't know. In the meantime, Chris at Alpine Lakes Travel, Rick McGee, Debbie Wanless, Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, and the Tiger with a U will be saving a seat for you
On the back row
of
of
the Cultural Hall.
Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back row.